Here we go again. I had some technical mishaps. My glasses are crooked. Everything, the wheels are falling off the cart, but we will carry on and proceed anyway with the enthusiasm of Tom Skilling, local Chicago weatherman. Looking forward. Anyway, here we go. Here we go. Here we go. So somehow I needed to put back in my access code or something. I was 1 minute I'm taking a courtesy survey from StreamYard people, and next thing I know, I'm not in my own StreamYard account anymore. But I say all that to say, here we are again, rebooting, coming back. We just a few minutes ago completed some lighthearted review on the Monogram Universal bag clips, in which we featured all the Universal monsters that I have in the inventory, including the creature from the Black Lagoon. And as Svengoolie tonight, we'll have on the third installment of the trilogy, The Creature Walks Among Us. We're here to dive in, pardon the pun, diving into the pun, leaning into the pun. So let's go ahead. We're going to highlight some Reddit business from the Svengoolie Reddit group. And also there's this, to me, this is a top flight MeTV survey. We haven't taken a survey live on a dive in before. So we're, again, forever seeking a new corner to hang out in and to try to get together. So now let me make myself smaller in the screen there so we can see the actual survey. And let me come over to the right tab here and hopefully, okay. So part of the significance of the third Creature of the Black Lagoon movie is that after it, Universal didn't have, for a good long minute, any human-sized monsters. So some people would consider this third movie in the Creature trilogy and the Creature installments the final run for the classic Universal monsters, but it all depends on which way do you want to frame it, what perspective do you want to take hold. So first let's go on this survey, and then we'll come into the conversation on Reddit where we're discussing what is in fact the final movie, in fact, by opinion. Anyway, okay, so here we go. So question number one, does classic horror include silent movies? So for my standards, for my point of view, all of Lon Chaney Sr.'s work that was in the horror genre that was silent, including Hunchback of Notre Dame, including Phantom of the Opera, well, I think those are horror and those are silent pictures. So I'm going to say yes. The vote split on this is 85%, 15%. And again, this is through metv.com. If you want to take the quiz yourself, it's right there. And again, we've never done a live quiz with MeTV before. So, okay, what is the first era of modern horror for you? Modern horror. Okay, 50s, 60s, 70s, 80s. So I'm going to say that with the conclusion of this movie, Creature Walks Among Us, in the late 50s, then everything after that one could consider would be modern horror. Not a lot of people having my same opinion. There's smaller percentages towards the 80s and the aughts, but a bulk of people here say the 50s is the first era of modern horror. I think what legitimizes that perspective, I don't know if we need to full on legitimize things, but what contributes to that perspective is the atomic, the sci-fi, the no longer, well, you got some giant monsters coming around in the 50s. You got a whole different set of things that was not Dracula, Frankenstein, Bride of Frankenstein, not Invisible Man, not Wolfman, not Phantom of the Opera. So I think that's why a lot of people land as they do. You could consider the 50s the first modern, first decade for modern era. Are slashers classic horror? So again, this is a very liberal way of working with the term classic here. So let's say because Dracula, not a slasher, Frankenstein and such, not slasher. So let's go with no there. And again, a good percentage of people would take that perspective. All right, now Psycho. So I think as we sit here in 2025, you'd be hard pressed not to consider Psycho a classic horror movie, but that's not Universal, that's Hitchcock. So, okay, let's say, is Psycho a classic? Let's say yes, it is. And again, most people would hold that position. What about The Exorcist? So, is The Exorcist classic? Again, given that it's got multiple decades behind it now, you could make the case that yes, it is. But that's also, are we saying classic and modern are incompatible with each other, or just how do we want to identify our terms, or what kind of specifics do we want to attach to the terminology? Halloween, classic, horror. Okay, so we don't mean classic as a judgment call, but rather as an era. So let's see, for this one, let's just play with no. And I'm assuming we're moving to Halloween movies. So, okay, a lot of people would consider Halloween classic. And who am I to tell them that they're wrong? Is Creature from the Black Lagoon. Okay, now here we go. Here we go. So let me say, yes, it's classic. For the people taking this survey, a vast number of them agree that Creature does fall into the classic era of Universal horror, and a decent number of the voting population says no. Now, okay, so Gremlins, is Gremlins classic? I'm going to say Gremlins is modern. It is a classical. What after a certain point, current songs, new songs age and find their way to a classic rock station. So in that same way, I would say you could call Gremlins a classic. How about Jaws? How do you say Jaws is like the founder of blockbusters? Jaws is many decades behind it now. So let's say Jaws is a classic. All right. This is kind of more of an even split in the voting. Okay. Does something have to be black and white to count as classic? I'm going to contradict myself here and how I'm voting, but let's just go ahead and say yes, because we're not holding anybody's feet to the fire for anything. We're just looking and seeing around what kind of different results are we getting from things. Okay, so now what is the golden age of horror to you? So I'm going to say Dracula 1931, Frankenstein 1931, then Wolfman came 41. So if they would have said 30s and 40s together, I would have taken that easily, but let's go 30s then. I'll say seeing a lot of people are saying 50s are golden age. It's also interesting. Like, it's just what kind of good conversation can go along with the vote. Okay, so poll, 72% similar to the most popular responses. Do I want to share that? No, but I do want to share that MeTV has lots of good t-shirts for sale available and all that stuff. So let me come to stop sharing and let me be back over here. Okay, here we go. So I covered all that, and now I want to. Oh, I thought the t-shirt fell down, but it's still up there. I should point out I'm doing the Geeky Tiki Creature of the Black Lagoon shirt. It's hard to miss me when I'm wearing this. It's a loud Hawaiian shirt. I know some Aloha shirts, Hawaiian shirts can be classy also, but this one is not one of those. So that also brings me to the Creature Geeky Tiki, which I've definitely featured around here on this channel before. And then when you're in the realm of Geeky Tiki, no better pairing than the diver and the creature together. Let me also get to the Super 7 creature glass here. This might be getting filled up in a short amount of time. I didn't want to have any spills on camera. Good show ahead. And one more. Let's not forget our friends at the Horror House at 2842 or 24 on the 2800 block of North Milwaukee Avenue. Definitely a good place to get creature paraphernalia or other monster business. All right, now let's get back into the screen sharing, because before I knew of that poll on MeTV, and I learned of that poll from the Svengoolie community on Reddit. So let me not mess this up now. Share screen. All right. Let's see if I'm getting okay. So let's come right here and share. And again, let me make sure and let me minimize myself as much as possible to maximize the screen. All right. So Paul, what do you consider classic horror? Okay, let's come over here. So interesting, within the Reddit group, 10 people, 10 respondents said The Creature Walks Among Us, the movie that's coming out of Svengoolie tonight, is the end of the classic era. But nearly double the voters are going with Abbott and Costello Meet Frankenstein. So again, I'm not here to argue against anybody. I'm just looking to check out different interesting nuances and subtleties in people's opinions. So I think it's obviously absolutely fair to consider Abbott and Costello, which technically is a monster rally since you had three monsters in the picture together, as the swan song or the end of the classic era. Absolutely a top favorite picture. Some people want to include the creatures. Some people are considering the creatures trilogy of a separate era. And as I was saying in the typing, not saying out loud, but saying via typing in Reddit earlier, it's just, I like to consider the creature part of the classic pantheon of characters. But so I think, are we measuring by time or are we measuring by roster? So I'm not here to argue or insist that the Creatures 3 movies be included in classic horror era. But for me, the creature as a character absolutely is part of the cluster, part of the grouping, part of the Universal Monster house of characters. So let's see, different people on Reddit then included. I voted for Abbott because of this and that. So that's user 7_0_, and then John P299 jumps in with some good comments. Ragnar Hedden was explaining, giving away which years went with which pictures. So that's very useful. And Select Insurance, who has a great knowledge base of things, gives in his opinion. It's Abbott and Costello. It lowered the curtain. And then, as I was referencing earlier, the atomic age of sci-fi. So yeah, Frankenstein is still sci-fi, but not atomic age sci-fi when you're having giant ants and giant other creatures roaming around. So now all that, and I wanted to, let me see if it's showing up now. Yeah, so over here and over here, Hollow 09, Danny Mac, the senior moderator of the Reddit crew, because most often I'm checking out Reddit on the phone. So now that I actually in getting ready to show the material on this very screen right here. So these side scrolls, Danny is, I just asked him, I'm like, hey, have you been going in and updating this all the time for what we call the stinger, aka the final gag of the night? And again, let me be embarrassed or not be embarrassed, until I was hanging out with Danny here in Reddit, I didn't realize that you get the little caption size at the bottom of the screen, lower third of the screen, final joke. So credit to Hollow 09, credit to Danny for being a loyal contributor to the community by making sure that the stinger, aka final gag of the night, gets in. And then as far as the What's Up Doc section there, to be swapping out 1 week's picture to swap in the next week's picture, so cool that Danny provides that element, provides that aspect of Svengoolie fan access within the Reddit verse. So I think that's all I have to say for now. So let me go to stop sharing and come back around. I hope people are going to enjoy, if not the Creature movie. I was saying also there's some similarity to Back to the Future 3, that the third one is not as strong as the first one, but specific to The Creature Walks Among Us, I would say that it continues the themes of intrusive scientists, intrusive human beings, come around, mess around, and find out, trying to keep clean cut language. Anyway, still some important themes, even if the movie doesn't stand on the same level as its predecessors, the second one and the first one. So again, I hope people are having fun either with the movie or with the Svengoolie routines and Sven Squad routines around the movie. And I'm going to go ahead and close us out. Again, apologies for not navigating correctly. I had set up one and then I couldn't get everything to work. I had to reconfigure and get a access code again. Thanks, everybody. Summer's coming to an end, but there's, that means we're getting into spooky season. So we're having good times ahead, Svengoolie and all things Classic Universal. All right, this is Mr. C, diving in, diving back out. Thanks for watching. We'll see you soon, and that's all for now.